Hello and welcome to RNB Fusion podcast. Now, if you like your podcast with a bit of fruity language and some adult themes, then look no further. This is the podcast for you. However, if you don't, then you might want to go and look on like BBC Radio 4 or CBeebies or something along those lines. You didn't have a farm, Ben?
Paul was an alien. There you go, done.
It's an egg.
Is it an egg? Hashtag legend.
Because Jif is that cleaner or the polisher, whatever it is. Hello there! Let's cause divide in the world, Ben.
Go back in time and get a load of Bitcoin.
I was a rebel, man. You know, the system couldn't hold me down. How's it going, dudes? It is RNB Fusion, and we are back with another episode with me, your co-host Ross, and my co-host
Benni Boi. How you doing, Ross?
I'm all right, pal. I am keeping busy. I am wondering where all this snow has come from. I will say that because the 26 years I've been on this earth, I have never seen so much snow in all my life.
Global warming. It is bad this year, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, I remember when I was a kid, maybe, a few times every few years. Whereas this year, this year and the end of last year, we've had like nearly 5 mountains of snow, which I think is crazy. And I can't go out in it because I've been told to stay indoors.
Well, just wait till you get the vaccine, you'll be all right.
Oh, that's it. Wait until that vaccine comes out, then I'll be able to go and make snowmen, go on holiday. Oh, Ben, the dream. The dream to just walk outdoors and forget this weird chapter of our lives.
Yeah, we just have to be patient. Just carry on being patient, and we'll get there. You know, it has been it's been quite long, but you know, just stay calm, cool, collected, and yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, but when we're allowed outdoors, the snow won't be there, Ben. I just hope that we get more frequent snow, like when we're allowed outdoors. Then, like obviously not in summer, but like in the winter. Especially around Christmas. I want a white Christmas, for God's sake. Is that too much to ask for?
You'll just have to wait till next year, mate.
I just want snow for this year's Christmas. Not next year's Christmas, this Christmas. If I get one white Christmas in my lifetime, I'll die happy. I'll be happy. Okay. Take me then. Okay. Take me then.
Right, okay.
But thinking of lives and taking me now, we are talking about a cracking topic this week, Ben. And it's something that, I don't know about you, I've put many hours into in lockdown.
Yeah, many hours.
Many hours, to the point where those hours are now starting to collate into days.
Weeks, months, years, you know.
Yeah. And I don't care. It's a proud stat, and that is video games.
I've been waiting for this episode. I can't wait.
Neither can I, Ben. Neither can I. Video games are massive. Video games are the new biggest multimedia platform going, to the point now where they are competing with movies. They are stupidly always filled with star-studded casts, or sometimes maybe some actors start their career in video games. But now endorsement deals you can get from gaming. You can become an athlete from gaming, which I never ever thought I'd ever hear in my entire life. And video games are just one of the best ways to escape from the world when you don't fancy watching a film.
Yeah, for sure. And also, you can have a good social on it as well with your pals.
Oh, yeah, that's what I love about gaming. Thinking of that social aspect, how incredible is it that video games these days, like you think back to when we were kids, we were around when the PlayStation had just come out. And if you wanted to play games with your pals, they had to come over to your house and have a second controller. Whereas nowadays, you can play over the internet.
Guys, you are really lucky. I'm just saying, whoever plays online now.
I know. Like, one of the best things I've found with the fact of us being told to stay at home is that I am now okay to say, yeah, I'll game for 15 to 20 hours a day. That's fine. And I can reconnect with pals that I've not spoken to for a while. Like one of my friends from uni, Dan Jones, I'll give him a shout out there on the pod. But me and him have been playing like Warzone and FIFA a lot over the internet. And if it was like 15 years ago, wouldn't be able to do that. Like, the only time we'd be able to do those sort of things is if he was allowed to come over to my house and game with me. And I think that's mad.
Saying that, when you look back at the console, so the PS2, I'm sure that had like an Ethernet cable, so they'll get him ready for it.
I never had that with the PS2. So on the PS2, you used to have like this flap you could pull out and then you'd put that big adapter in. And I remember seeing the concept of it and people saying, oh, yeah, you can game with your mates. And I'm like, what? How?
Did you ever game too much? You broke your console and you had to get a new one? Because that happened to me with the PS2. It just broke, the big black ones, and then I had to get I think I had that silver one, the slim one.
I remember that silver one, but I had the fat silver one. But no, I've never, touch wood, I've never had a console break on me in that sense. I've been quite lucky at the fact that my consoles have lived through the ages to the point that I still have them now and I will game on them occasionally. Like, I've got my PS2 hooked up to my TV, I've got my PS3 down here hooked up to my monitors where my PC is, got my PS4 there. It's just incredible how, like, watching the generational difference between them all. Like, I remember when my dad first came home with a PS1, we went into Curry's at the time and we picked this up, this PlayStation that all my mates had talked about at school. Now, when I first heard PlayStation, I thought it was like a Lego thing. So it was like, that's what it was called. It was called a PlayStation because you could play in that sense, not like video games. I didn't think of it like that. And I just remember when my dad came home with it and we had Ready to Rumble, boxing game, and Gran Turismo 2.
Ready to Rumble, loved it.
Ready to Rumble was a weird boxing game because you had like this standard American big chiseled jaw character, and then you had a stereotypical Brit who had a mustache and would fight with his arms rotating around going, come on then, chap. Then you had somebody who was a martial artist special. And at that time as a kid, you're thinking these graphics are amazing. But when you look back on it now, they're just square blocks on people.
I think I had Ready to Rumble 2 because I didn't have the PS. I had the PS2. So the graphics were a bit better for that. But I was Nintendo 64 all the way. I mean, I had a Nintendo 64 for Christmas. No Mercy, WWF, tire, plenty of hours on that. But the console was fantastic, and the controller, because you could stick something in the back, what could save more data, and I think it was like had like a vibrate sensor thing in, so when you hit someone or so forth, they'll do that. So like they're working on that, and it was just awesome. I mean, I loved it. That console was my favourite one.
The Nintendo 64 was great.
Just a bit of Mario Kart, come on.
Oh, yeah, that was how you asserted your dominance. I mean, these days kids do it with obviously the Mario Kart and the Wii and stuff, but back then, Mario Kart, it wasn't the same as when you had all the 3D-ness to it. It was literally like these pixels, and when you turned, they would follow you no matter you are. So if you were staring at a tree one way and then you moved, the tree would follow wherever you were looking. So it looked like the tree was rotating all the time. But I think the most iconic game that was on the 64 was GoldenEye.
Oh yeah, I was about to say that GoldenEye. There was so much detail in that game.
There was, like, and the fact it was a licensed game. I just remember, I can't remember what the character's name is, but the bloke with the top hat, he was the most overpowered character ever. That hat was a one-shot kill, and if you managed to hit anyone, that you would, if you had him or you picked him and you had that hat, you were winning every single game. I just remember the intensity of playing those games. But I think thinking back onto that 64, I remember the controller was a weird thing because if you wanted to play it one way, you had to hold it on two like that on one side, and then you could do it on the other side, and it was the weirdest looking controller ever. But it was an iconic controller. It kind of reminded me of the bat symbol.
Yeah, it had like three like prongs coming down into it. I liked it, but again, different. Obviously, Nintendo do everything differently, don't they? So, but I mean, back in the day, I had to have another controller. Two players and all that. I went with the classic, red controller had to be a bit different, not grey. I went for the red one. But Ross, I also had a steering wheel for the Nintendo 64. What was the downfall for Nintendo 64? Because they were both, pretty much equal, then all of a sudden PS just skyrocketed, and then Nintendo 64 never caught up.
They had a bigger variety of games, whereas Nintendo was more catered towards a younger, maybe middle teens audience, or prepubescent teens as it is, whereas PlayStation kind of had a bit of everything for everyone. Like, they had kids games, like I said, we had like Gran Turismo, and you had that Ready to Rumble game. Then they also then released like Resident Evil. Like, the first Resident Evil was on the PlayStation 1, and that was catered to 18-year-olds. It felt that PlayStation was that for everyone. It wasn't just aimed at one market. It was, we are here for young and old. Bit like Lego.
Yeah, probably they opened it more to everyone as well, so everyone could design a game and release it like on the PlayStation side of things. Because I think Nintendo like to keep it more in-house, don't they? Get the licenses and do that.
Yeah, with Nintendo, it's all very much their own ideas. They don't really go and broaden and go, let's do this game about gangs of London, for instance. Whereas PlayStation, because they had licenses from everywhere else, there was a game for everything. So you had a lot more movie tie-ins and like different styles of tie-ins. You had different characters that Sony had just started to create. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The fact you had Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, which basically sums up mine and your generation.
Now you mentioned that, yeah.
When Spyro and Crash came out, that was majority of our listeners' childhood. Like I said with Sony, when Crash and Spyro came about, that was their competitors for Mario and Sonic. So Sega and Nintendo at this point had already been in a two-horse race. Now there was this new competitor with two new ideas.
I never played Crash or anything like that, so I don't know.
You didn't play Crash or Spyro?
No.
Oh, Ben.
You see, I had Nintendo 64 until PS2 came out. For me, it was mainly motorsport games, F1, superbikes, that type of thing for me. I had what game was it? It was on the PC, so a different console type thing, but it was Superbikes 2000 by EA Sports.
I had that, but I had it on the PS1.
You had it on the PS1? I didn't know they did it on PS1.
Yeah.
I had it on the PC, the best graphics ever, and the commentators, they had all the sponsorships on the bikes.
Yeah.
The characters actually looked like the riders. Carl Fogarty, come on. Troy
Colin
Porter,
Edwards.
Yeah. Texas Tornado, loved it.
Yeah, funnily enough, like I said, I had that on PS1, and my dad bought that for him because obviously it being Superbikes. And I remember playing it, and whenever I used to race him, basically I just race until I hit a corner so hard the player would fly off, because that was the point for me. I just enjoyed it. But I remember that game, and it was, at that time, it was like, whoa. Because, like you said, they had all the endorsement deals, and I remember Carl Fogarty, because obviously he was, at that time, one of the best bike riding champions ever, until obviously, unfortunately, his accident where it kind of put him out and he had to retire. I just remember he was ridiculously overpowered as a bike rider. Like, he had the best agility, he had the best balance, he had the best acceleration, top speed. Yeah, it was, again, like I said, I had it, and it was just incredible. I mean, on the PC, I can't even imagine how good it looked.
It was great. But for this game, it was the first game when you crashed on the motorbike, you flew off and you had to run back to your motorbike and pick it up and get back on. And silly, stupid things like if someone knocked you, you could press a button and like raise your fist and say, "Hey, don't do that." And stupid stuff, like little things again. But it was great. Absolutely
I used to do that all the time. That was one of my favourite manoeuvres. Was when anything happened, there was always that character going, "Whoa, you gotta!"
Yeah,
like, it felt like an old man, like going, "Get off my lawn!" Like that. It was the shaking of the fist he did.
Or when you're turning and you accidentally pressed it and it unbalanced you and you're like, "Oh!" and you're nearly flying off. The best one was when you do the wheelie and doing that like shaking of the hand and you're like, "Oh, that was fantastic!" Absolutely loved it. And then after that, obviously, I played on some PS games with my mates. I think it was called Odd World. Do you remember that game?
Odd World.
Yeah.
Yeah, that weird like thing that go, and you had to rescue all these pals. That one.
Yeah. Rescue his pals, and I think he did like he meditated and he could do different things and
That
very
game was
strange.
hard.
Yeah, I remember that. And then there was this battleship game. Do you remember? I don't know what it was called. A battleship game where you had to.
I think it was actually just called Battleships.
I love that game as well.
With the PlayStation, you had so many iconic games, a bit like the 64. But just the fact, like, this is what I mean. This is what I love about our generation and obviously older generation, younger generations, is the fact that we all have something in common. There's always one game that you'll meet with either your friend or somebody you've never, well, say somebody you've never met, somebody you've just met for the first time. And you will always have at least one game in common with them, and it can bring a friendship. So, Ben, if you were going to go out and buy a video game, what are you going to choose it on? The story or the online playability?
I'm going to say I like a 50-50.
No, you can only pick one.
I can only pick one, right? I would go more for the story, I would say. I like playing online, like doing a bit of social, but you can do that, play a bit of F1 with everyone, but I like a good story line for sure. Is it, what's it called? Uncharted?
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's it.
Like
a bit of that, knockoff version of Indiana Jones. Come on.
But Uncharted was amazing. That whole series was incredible. And it kind of felt, like you said, a bit like Indiana Jones mixed with National Treasure, mixed in maybe with a bit of Tomb Raider and that. It was great. And the characters were amazing. Like Nathan Drake, again, a very entertaining character. I remember that came out when the PS3 came out, which at this point, PS3 was like stupid amazing. Like the graphics were unknown. It was so weird seeing something look so good. I mean, obviously the PS2 would kind of put that middle ground into it, but the PS3 just had HD for the first ever time.
It was just such a game because there's something new on every level.
And that's what I think was good. I mean, the first one will always remain the best for me. It was all contained on this one island, and everything happened on this island. Whereas with 2 and 3 and 4, they kind of started moving towards like big blockbuster movies where it was moving constantly, which is good. They're still all as good, don't get me wrong. But I think the first one held its own by just keeping it very contained on one area. And again, like you said, I love a good story. Like one of my favourite types of games is those games that just grab you and draw you in. And it's just this whole tale. It's a bit like watching a film, but you're in control of it.
Do you think now, with the games that are coming out, it's more based online than it is the story there?
I think some games are. I think like with the Call of Duty series, they were very like heavy in story at the start. You think back to like Call of Duty 1, 2 and 3. And then Call of Duty 4 came around, which was all very modern. It was all about being in the idea of modern warfare, hence the title Modern Warfare. And online was kind of introduced. And yeah, don't get me wrong, I think online is great, but I think sometimes a company will sacrifice story for online. And it can show in some games, like especially like Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare and all that. They kind of lost touch with the stories. Like I remember, I think it was a few years ago, Black Ops 4 when that came out, didn't even come with a story. It was all online. And it got absolutely panned for it.
Which Call of Duty was your favourite?
See, I'm going to have to say World at War was my all-time favourite because of the dismemberment. Now, that sounds quite grim, but at the time, Call of Duty had never ever touched anything like that. And it was set at the point where World War II was ending. So it was around where like the Americans had started to push the war to the Pacific. I just remember like the fact you had this flamethrower and you could play the story together. So like me and my mate, I remember once I went over to his house and we played the entire story through together. And then you also had the iconic Nazi zombies. I remember when I completed the game at this point, and after the credits had rolled, there was this weird like scene where this bloke was waking up and this creature with yellow eyes was running at me, and I was thinking, what the hell have I just waltzed into? And it was when Nazi Zombies it started, really. That was unique as well, because I remember playing with all my mates on it, and we all had the DLC. So you had like the zombie asylum, the zombie like swamp, you had the zombie factory.
I'm going to go way back with the Call of Duty for me. I can't remember what it was called, but it was Call of Duty, the big red one or something like that. Do you remember on the PS2?
Oh, that was Call of Duty 2, big red one. I had that. Yeah, I had that. That was wicked.
I don't know why I really like that. For some reason, there was one scene where you had to go and rescue someone. Something stupid, like just a small scene. Had to go and rescue someone, take out a sniper or something, and fight. Back. Bring this guy back.
Yeah, because it felt like you were playing Saving Private Ryan, didn't you, at that point?
Yeah, you did.
Like when you'd watch the film and you'd go on Call of Duty and you'd basically recreate, you're like, yeah, like this is wicked. Like I remember when they started getting into like future warfare and all this. So what in the future, how the guns would be, and there'd be like laser pistols and stuff. And it was a good thing at the start, but then they kind of ran it to the ground in that sense. But you can never beat the old classic Call of Duties. Like I remember when they brought Call of Duty World War II out. I'd never been so excited in all my life. Like I hadn't been as excited for a Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 2. Because let's be honest, that was the game that you played in your teens at school.
Yeah, it was. I haven't played many Call of Duties, but I think that was the last one I pretty much played all the way through, really.
That was the one that everyone had because it was the first Call of Duty that went 18. And it was the one with the very controversial mission, which was called No Russian, where you pose as a Russian terrorist and you just mow down innocent people. And I remember when that game came out and like the whole press and public release was going, this is nuts, you can't be doing this, it's in a video game. And I just remember the online, like the chat rooms, kids these days would not survive in those chat rooms because the lobbies, the stuff that people said was ridiculously like it made you grow a tough exterior.
I've been playing a bit of F1 online lately.
Have you? How are you finding that?
I'm enjoying it, but some people just like torpedo into me. I'm like, what are you playing at? I'm just going around the corner. Come on, give me a break.
See, that's me, but that's just because I like smashing up cars in games.
Yeah, I don't mind. I mean, if we're racing aggressively and you're pushing and we're pushing each other, I don't mind a bit of argy-bargy. But if someone bang, I'm like, I've done one lap. There's 18 left. Come on.
Oh no, I don't know how you do that in racing games. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great that you can have a realistic simulation game, so you proper get into depth with it. I couldn't do like tons of laps, so I can only do 3. That's
really
done then. Like, and each one.
I'll tell you, you would have loved Le Mans 24 Hours then on the PS2. Classic game.
Well, you're saying that. There's a game that came out on the PS3 and it was called Project Cars. Did you ever play it, Ben?
I didn't play the first one, but I played the second one.
So on the first one, when Project Cars came out, it was the next big simulation to compete with Forza, basically. And they actually had a 24-hour mode, and it wasn't like, oh, let's just do 24 hours and we'll speed up the time. It was 24 hours in real life, and you could earn a trophy doing it.
Just one trophy?
Just one trophy, and I think it was like a silver or gold trophy. It wasn't nothing spectacular, but it basically said, did a whole race for 24 hours. And I remember for years and years thinking, you know what I need to do? I need to set up one night where I do like a charity stream or something and do a full 24 hours just to get that trophy, but I just can't even fathom that.
That's why you need to have a teammate. You can have about 3 people in one car, mate. You can do a session each, do a couple of hours, you come off, someone else does a couple of hours, come on.
But that's it, yeah, but in like real life, they have constant race drivers like teaming up, sleeping and switching out. Like it'd just be all your mates in a room, like you're passing control and you like lying in the corner, like snoozing.
Yeah, but come on, Ross, you need to get with the rules, mate. Come on, just read the rules, you'll get there.
Nah, see, for me, if I was going to do it, I'd want to do it on my own in that sense and be like, look, I earned this. I earned this on my own and I did the 24 hours.
12 hours in and you just see you asleep.
Be on about it. It'd be 4 hours in. I'd be like, no, I can't do this.
I've had enough.
Tag me out.
You'll start ranting. What was I thinking?
I mean, like I said, I do 3 laps and I'm done. Like, I can't do this. Like, one of my mates, he does the full simulation, like, laps. He does the practice laps. Then he'll do the qualifying round. Then he'll do the actual race. And I'm thinking, for God's sake, mate, just play the race. Don't do all of that. That's too much, man. It's too much. Just go out and be an F1 driver at this point.
I can do a bit of quali and then the race, for sure, yeah.
I'm like that on FIFA, but not on racing games. God.
You see, I like it because it's a bit of strategy. So, you know, I mean, if there's an incident, do I come in? Do I stay out? You know, and save your tyres and, like, fuel. It's those little geeky things I like about the game. And plus, I'm a big F1 fan, so, you know.
I've recently, over the last, 2-3 years, since getting a big beast of a PC, I've been moving over to PC gaming, which is a completely different world. Like, you get all the standard games that you do on the PS4 and the Xbox and all them lot. But some of them, you get like proper simulation games. Like, there's a PC building sim where basically you work as a guy who builds PCs and sells them and all this. And then there's another one where it's like a Euro truck sim, it's called, where you basically play a trucker, picking up load, dropping them off, pick up another load. And you have to indicate, do all the gear changing and all this. And to anyone else, you think, God, that's boring, that's dull. But I tell you, you don't realise how many hours you lose when you're playing them.
I've seen a couple of live streams with the truckers.
Like me and a few of my friends, Dave and Rich, we will every now and then have a trucking sesh where we just meet up and we just truck. We pick up some cargo and we truck together and we just chat like we're actual truckers on a CB radio. Like, you know, your life's pretty sad when you drive from Birmingham to Carlisle, which for me, I did in real life. And I'm like, yeah, this is great.
It's just the time at the minute, mate. You've got to pass the time with this lockdown, so it's just that.
Yeah, but I've never wanted to be a truck driver in my life, but I'm still pretending to be one. Like, they have an American version, which is called American Truck Sim, and you can explore, like, Nevada, Los Angeles, and all these big places, and it will take you hours. So in game, say, let's talk about Euro Truck. I'm going from Edinburgh, and I want to go down all the way to Naples in Italy. In game time says, it's going to take about 18 hours. In real life, that'll take you about 2 to 3 hours.
I'm not sure how to answer that.
What was that? Who's trying to answer that? What answer about my Euro truck? I can tell you now it takes 2 to 3 hours because I've done it. Like, when you explain somebody a simulation game, especially the ones I've been talking about, people think, God, that sounds sad. I was the exact same. Then you play it and you've lost your life. Like, there's one where it's called Visceral Cleanup Detail. And basically you play as this person who rocks up to, like, say, a crime scene. One of the levels is this intergalactic base and all these guns have fired and killed off everyone. So there's bits of people everywhere. There's bullet holes everywhere. There's blood everywhere. And the whole point of the game is to clean it all up and make it look like nothing happened. And that'll take you hours to do. And you have to put the mop on, wash the floor, and then you have to keep draining the mop because obviously the blood gets stuck on it. And if you use it too much, it'll spread it everywhere. Then you have to put some things in the incinerator. You have to then fix the walls.
At least you're set for a house husband.
Well, talking of houses, there's also one where you can flip a house. So you build it, paint it, and then sell it on, and then buy another one, do that. It's crazy. Like, I just don't understand why I've lost my life to these, but I can't get out of it. Help me.
Okay, it's probably lockdown needs to hurry up a bit then.
Yeah, definitely. But what I will say is there's one game that I've loved, which is called, like I said earlier, I mentioned it was PC Building Sim, which has been really good. So I read a review on this guy because I was looking to get it and I was thinking, do I want to play it? But this guy was saying that he had problems with his PC one day and he loaded up PC Building Sim on his laptop and he put together his own PC because it has licensed parts in the game. And he found out what went wrong. So then in real life, he transferred those skills and did it to his own PC and fixed it. And I think that's incredible that a game can teach you that as well.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I mean, for me, it's all about YouTube, but to learn it from a game is awesome.
in filmmaking, there's this game, I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but you can basically plot your scenes, you can plot the camera angles, the props that are in it, and it uses like 3D animation models, and you can plot how your film looks, and you can kind of see what it's going to look like without actually having to put a camera and do it. So you can start plotting whether to take out a certain scene, whether to change the angles, the depth of film stuff, and it's incredible. Like, I was watching this film company talk about it, and they said, "Oh yeah, we use it for all these professional shoots and all this." I'm thinking, that's incredible. That games are having an effect not only just entertaining, but can be also used as productivity tools.
Yeah, it's like that in the F1 though, when they start to prep. Well, when the drivers prep for the race, they can go on the sim, can't they? So it's a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible.
Okay, Ross, what is your favourite game ever?
Ooh, my favourite game ever. Is there a certain generation I can pick it on, or is it like any time?
Anytime.
I've got to say, and I mentioned it earlier, was the original Spider-Man game that I had on PS1. Again, it was Spider-Man, and as a kid, I'd played the demo. I don't know if you remember, on PS1, you used to be able to get a magazine, you used to get demo discs.
Yes.
They were incredible, and I miss those days. I miss those days that you had. Like, PS2 had them when you bought the PS2 for the first time, which was cool, but then they just kind of died out. Anyway, Spider-Man was amazing because you had Stan Lee narrating the entire game, and they go, Excelsior, and you'd have like, so spider heroes and all this, and it was incredible because you had the same actor who did the 90s cartoon do the voice and all the characters, and it was just a weird game because you had all these different Marvel characters jump in every time. Like I remember one, you had the Punisher appear out of nowhere. And I just remember that game also slightly scarring me at the end because at the end, it was all about these symbiotes coming around. So symbiotes basically is what Venom and Carnage and all them are made up of. And the plot of the game is that these symbiotes eventually come and they're starting invading, and they make Carnage into this massive big being. And once you defeat Carnage, it ends up on Doc Ock and it makes him into Monster Ock, and you have to escape him, but it's really narrow. So you have to go up these tunnels and stuff, and he's following you, and you can hear the screeching. And to this day, it's even sending chills down my spine thinking of it. It was terrifying, but it was a proper enjoyable game. And I also love the fact that as a kid, you had different modes. So you had easy, hard, and medium as normal, but you also had a kid mode, which was even friendlier. And you used to have different characters to go kid mode. And it's every time you go over it. And as a kid, I used to wait until Spidey went kid mode, and then I'd click it. Because obviously being a fan of Spider-Man. What was your favourite game, Ben?
My favourite game, it was on the PS2, Rugby 2003 by EA Sports. Now, just before I get into the details, EA Sports, can you please do the rugby games again, please, because they were amazing. And you keep on Valentine's Day or whatever it is, or no, not Valentine's Day. What is it? April Fool's Day, Valentine's Day. But anyway, on April Fool's Day, you like to do a little post now and then saying that you're going to do it. Please just do the rugby game. If you're listening, EA, I doubt it, but if you are, make sure you subscribe and everything, and give us a follow. But anyway, let's get into the details here.
Ben pushing the pod to EA games.
That's it, Anyone else who wants to follow, just give us a quick follow as well,
But if you're from EA Games, definitely give us a follow.
Yes.
Because Ben needs a word with you.
Yeah, please. We need to sit down. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, this game was amazing. Again, EA, EA standards. It's going to be good.
Well,
on most of them. So I'll rephrase that. On most of the games, they're going to be good. The graphics were brilliant. It was when we won the World Cup. Yes, you had the England squad. But the best feature, though, was it's the first game I could manage a rugby team. This sounds so silly, but to manage a rugby team and you play the team, so you play it yourself, but you could buy players, You could sell players. You had to hit targets, or otherwise you get the sack and you get better opportunities and progress. And it was fantastic. That I spent so many hours on that, Ross.
Honestly, that's me on FIFA these days. And FIFA as a kid, I remember when FIFA was like, you could be a manager and you can take over a club and you can buy whatever player you wanted in the world. Obviously, if you fit your transfer figure. And like you said, you just think it's incredible because
I loved it.
Are in control.
Absolutely loved it. Went bankrupt a couple of times, but absolutely loved it.
Don't worry. I was the same. Like, you'd always buy the best player in the game and you'd end up like in the red.
Yeah, you got
because of it.
Yeah, next month's wages. Oh, yeah, you're in the red. Make sure you win every game now, guys. Otherwise, I'm getting a sack here. Come on, get your finger out.
That's it. And you used to have like motivational talks, like when you were younger. You used to go, right, team, we're going to win this. We're going to win the champions. We're going to get all the cups and the trophies. But most importantly, you're all going to take a lower wage because I've run out of cash and we need you all to stay.
Yeah.
To be honest, Ben, to this day, I still forget about wage packets. I just look at the transfer fee and go, right, I'm going to buy whoever I can.
I'm having them. I don't care. That's it.
Yeah, I don't care. If I'm in the red, I'm in the red. If I have to sell a kidney and sell my child to get them, I'll do that. Let's do that. Come on, bring it on. But I think, they do need another rugby game because rugby games over the last few years have been pretty naff.
They have, not dissing the people who make them, but just EA, come back in, mate. Come on. You know you want to make the next game. Come on, just do it.
I will give EA that. Like, sometimes the games over the last few years have been pretty rocky, especially like with FIFA and Madden. The fact that they can get all the licensing, they can get all the players' game faces. I mean, you look at how good their games do look incredible. I mean, I played the hockey game on the PS4. It was like NHL 18, something like that. And honest to God, I thought I was actually watching a hockey match, how good it looked.
There you go. See? EA for you.
There you go. And if EA, you are listening, thank you. I mean, that's incredible. Even if you're just an employee at EA, I mean, that's big for us. But most importantly, Ben wants another rugby game.
And also subscribe to the pod.
Yeah, subscribe to the pod. That's the most important bit.
Yeah, that's it.
But Ben, I think we have touched on video games so much tonight. I mean, again, I just want to spend another 25 million hours just gaming my life away because sometimes, especially in the world that we're living in and the current climate with everything that's going on, it is so nice just to escape the reality and just enter a new world.
It is, it really is. And thank you to all the different consoles, Game Boys, Nintendos, Dreamcast, PSs, all of them. Thank you. It's been good.
They've created many memories for
memories
us.
All the way.
Like, they've shaped our childhoods, and it's incredible to think that 3D graphics on the screen can do that. Like, we talked about it with films in our film podcast, the fact how a film can change our lives and it becomes this absolute iconic film for us. But video games have had a bigger impact in my eyes because you're the one who's in control, as I said earlier. And I want to thank, like you said, I think you said it nicely, is thanking game companies for that, because without them, our childhood wouldn't really exist.
It's been good.
It has. Yeah. But what I will say is, if you are a games console developer or you're a game and you want to sponsor us, I mean, not that they're probably listening, but if you do, we want an endorsement deal for that.
Yeah.
I will happily play your games for that.
Or a quick shout out. Just give us a message.
That's it. I hope maybe one day, who knows. But what I will say is, next week, you kind of talked about it at the end, and we are talking about sports next week.
Are we? We're talking about sports, loving it. Come on.
Yeah, so you could talk about your rugby. We can get into the full-on reasons why rugby is incredible for you. I can talk about football. We could talk about all sports, even the fact of the weirdest sports in the world, such as cheese rolling down a hill and chasing after it, which I can't remember the actual name of, but that's a thing in the UK. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to look forward to this pod.
Yeah, and so am I. But again, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in every week. It's always nice to see our listeners enjoying the pod and sharing it round. If you haven't, what are you doing? Make sure you share the pod because we love you. But most importantly, if you have any questions or topics, make sure you email us or hit our social medias. So if you want to hit our social medias, we are RNB Fusion. You can search it up on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And our email, because I've forgotten it again, Ben, what is the email?
It is rnbfusion@outlook.com.
There you go, rnbfusion@outlook.com. But until next time, guys, we hope you have a wonderful week. Stay safe, and we will see you all very soon.
Goodbye.
The intro to RNB Fusion podcast is Just Smile by Liquid. You can find this on soundcloud.com/liquid, and that is spelled LIQWYD. This falls under the Creative Commons Attribution 3.0. And you can also find this on YouTube under the channel Audio Library.